The Legend of Zelda, the Minish Cap. Not the first handheld Zelda game, but certainly a memorable one. Out in 2004, it was the first and only Zelda game on the Gameboy Advance. It's a charming adventure using size to manipulate the player in various situations and environments. But why let me ramble here? Let's delve into the Minish Cap and see what it has to offer. Real quickly, however, I should note the Minish Cap was re-released on the Wii U, and that's what footage I used. You can find a link to the purchase down in the description below through the Nintendo eShop. Now, I mentioned that the Minish Cap was the only Game Boy Advance title. This is not entirely true. I'm aware of the Four Swords from the A Link to the Past Game Boy cartridge, but due to limitations of needing 2 to 4 Game Boy Advance systems to play, not many people truly managed to play it at the time. That in mind, the Minish Cap uses the assets created in Four Swords. It's actually a prequel. The likely cause for this being that with the limitations to Four Swords being played, they decided to not let the art and world assets go to waste. It's actually quite clever. Looking at the graphics themselves, the game is colorful and charming, with the sprite work being the key component to this. The world is divided into various sections, demonstrating their own theme and style, from rugged lava-filled mountains to damp, dangerous swamps. The variation is staggeringly positive. I found myself enjoying the aesthetic of each zone I explored. The sounds throughout the game are what you'd expect. The main Zelda overworld theme plays exploring the field, but there's a twist. The beeping type of music and sounds from the GBA era are ever present throughout the game, and it's honestly not a detriment. The game seamlessly blends the sound effects into the world, and you'll honestly forget that they sounded off in the first place. Something I should note with the re-release of the Minish Cap on the Wii U, if you played the Virtual Console version, your game will run at a constant 60 frames per second, kinda. The animations originally ran at about 20 frames per second on the GBA. The game will respond well, and you'll actually feel more control than you did in the original release, but the animation may be rather jarring to some people as they do not scale well visually. You'll see a lot of slowdown in terms of items spinning on the ground, or in Link's animations whenever he, for example, lifts an item into the air. Overall, the charming aesthetic of the game is very familiar to many, using the same style as the Wind Waker, and many of the characters familiar and new blending into the style seamlessly. It's a decent looker and ages well due to its sprites. Many years after the recolonization of the surface world by the humans of the sky, they have all but forgotten their skyborn roots, and legends circulating their history have altered based on the existence of the creatures known as the Bikori, or Minish. But our story doesn't take place learning the history of the humans of Hyrule. Instead, our story starts with Link's childhood friend Zelda, waking him up to attend the Bikori festival in Hyrule Castle Town. After hours of fun running around, the two children run up to Hyrule Castle to witness an award ceremony for a sword-fighting contest held in honor of the festival. The victor receives the honor of touching the fabled blade of the Bikori, bestowed to the Hylians to help them protect from any evil that should stand to threaten them. However, upon the victor, Vati, receiving his chance to touch the blade, he laughs and tosses aside all who would stand in his way and unleashes monsters upon the land. In an angry rage, he reveals his only intent is to find the Light Force and rule Hyrule through its power. As Link stands in his way, the evil sorcerer injures him and freezes Zelda to stone. It is here we learn that in order to save our friend from confinement in stone, we must travel the world and reforge the shattered blade, destroyed by Vati's carnage, and stop him from destroying the world. I could go on here, but as per usual in this series, I would rather you play the game yourself or watch the series on the channel. It's a charming little adventure, and you'll find yourself pleasantly surprised by the many twists and turns it takes. And now, the biggest part about any video game, and of course the Zelda series, is the gameplay. From its roots, the Legend of Zelda franchise is an action-adventure series. You control Link, or whatever you choose to name him, and can explore the various locales and dungeons ahead of you. You start off with merely a sword and shield, and your familiar green tunic. As you begin your journey, you find rupees, the currency found in the game, and used to buy various items and enhancements for yourself. Rupees are plentiful, found in grass in the field, chests in dungeons, or from doing various side quests littered throughout Hyrule. Alongside finding rupees in grass, you'll also find hearts, or your life. Starting off the game, you start off with 3 hearts, 4 quarters each, allowing for 12 minor hits or 3 big ones. As you progress throughout the game, you will come across heart containers or pieces of heart to help strengthen you up. Most of the side quests done in the game will award you a piece of heart, leading to 44 different pieces to collect and 1 major heart container found outside the main dungeons. Now, these are not the only things you'll find yourself collecting throughout your tiny adventure. Throughout the dungeons you explore, you'll find special items that will aid in progressing further. These range from the standard bow and arrow to some more wacky items like the Gust Jar, which sucks up air, dust, and certain enemies and shoots them back at you. With all this collecting being done, you'd wonder if this game was a collectathon. Well, perhaps partially. However, it is more an action puzzle game. In each dungeon, you'll find yourself faced with fighting monsters and traversing the dark and dangerous locales. On top of this, you'll be figuring out puzzles to access new rooms or finding hidden keys, using your map to find out where a key might go. The dungeons themselves are unique, with only 2 bearing some resemblance to one another, though story reasons rule out the lazy factor there. Each dungeon gets progressively more difficult in enemy variety as well as puzzle difficulty and complex layouts. One particular dungeon, the Fortress of Winds, finds you going back and forth across multiple levels constantly to find the proper paths. Another staple in the Zelda series comes in the form of its boss fights. They've been around since the very first days, and the Minish Cap is no exception. Each dungeon ends in a boss fight in which you use the items you've received to defeat large foes and earn your way forward. I personally love figuring out each unique boss fight, and slight spoiler here, I absolutely love that the Minish takes normally mundane and normal creatures and pits you against them. A giant, or rather normal-sized, Octorok that rocks! Jokes. That about covers it for a basic overview of what the game holds. I must say, it's a top-notch handheld game. Short, sweet, to the point. I have no real complaint. Oh wait, yeah I do. Oh my goddesses. Why is there a grinding side quest? So throughout the game you'll find an item or currency called mysterious shells. In Hyrule Castle Town you'll find a small house in a tree where you can turn them in to unlock figurines. Harmless so far, right? There are 130 figurines to collect, and if you want one last piece of heart, you're doing the quest. Harmless so far, right? Doesn't sound so bad, right? Well, it's a game of probability. You choose how many shells you put in to get a figurine you don't own. At first, it's simple. You'll likely have around 200 to 300 shells to start with, and the amount to turn in to get a new figurine is rather low. But it climbs, and climbs, and you'll realize you have to grind it out. You want to hear the best part? This isn't the biggest problem. Really, it comes down to how slow the process is. Talk to the vendor, accept how many shells, pull the lever, watch a cutscene, get a figurine, see the figurine, be commended for the figurine, or get 5 rupees because you already had that figurine. Rinse and repeat. 130 times, at least. It's a blemish on an otherwise perfect game. Alright, I've rambled on long enough about how the game itself gives me one small problem that totally doesn't ruin the rest of the experience. The Minish Cap was a wonderful handheld game, and it's just long enough to have depth to it that we love and leave a positive taste in your mouth in the end. With a stable and well-done formula from the previous Zelda series, it's hard to say the game is bad. It's polished and well done, not to mention accessible. If you have a Wii U, it'd be hard not to recommend a pickup, as it's only $9.99 on the Wii U eShop in the US. Okay, now that the games have been discussed, the much dreaded Let's Play review begins. Oh boy, here we go. Once again, it's a trend, isn't it? This series took too long. 31 parts over a year? What? Actually, you know what? Scratch that. I've been very happy with my progress in life outside YouTube, and I had to put things aside to get all of that strengthened. My relationship with the love of my life could not be any stronger, and my school and work do come first. So I'm gonna give myself a pass on the lane. However, as a project itself, I can't say I'm proud of it. Not my best moments. But I am happy with it. It's me, playing a game, having fun, and that's what matters. I'd give this series a... I got a good project out of it, and I hope you enjoyed your time through it as well. It took a few chests to find it, but hey, so it goes. I will go back and 100% it in my own time, but for now, this chapter closes. Thank you so much for watching. Like this video if you enjoyed it, share it around to spread the love, and subscribe for more updates as we go on. We have a few new projects coming soon, and the next one being Darksiders, that's already started on the channel if you'd like to go take a peek. I've been Avier of Chaotic Reunion, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Ciao!